Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're taking something that literally sits in millions of homes worldwide and decoding the magic behind how it actually gets built. We're translating the completely wordless and, let's be honest, potentially intimidating IKEA manual for the HEMNES 8-drawer dresser into a super clear path to victory. So if you've ever stared at one of these booklets and felt a sudden wave of confusion, well, you are in the exact right place.
Look at this beautifully organized, perfectly symmetrical piece of furniture. It's our call to adventure, right? The ultimate prize. But to actually get to this dark gray-stained masterpiece, we've first got to decipher a very specific, entirely visual language. Think about it. The manual relies completely on visual cues, spatial reasoning, and step-by-step logic. There's not a single word in there to guide you.
To get us there, our agenda today is going to follow the exact logical flow of the manual itself. 1. Meet the HEMNES. 2. Decoding the hardware. 3. Building the foundation. 4. The crucial safety step. And finally, 5. Assembling the drawers. We're going from a terrifying pile of hardware to the incredibly satisfying click of that final drawer.
Okay, Section 1. Meet the HEMNES, the end goal. Let's just dive right into this by acknowledging that completely universal experience of staring down a flat-pack box. We have all been there, right? You rip open that cardboard and boom, you were immediately hit with this wild mix of fierce determination and, well, maybe a little bit of mild dread.
Moving into Section 2, decoding the hardware, inventory shock and awe. Because, let's be honest, that dread usually peaks right at the very beginning. Every single builder faces this initial threshold. You're opening up those crinkly hardware bags and coming face to face with just an overwhelming sea of tiny metal and wooden parts.
I mean, just looking at the very first hardware requirement reveals a pretty surprising number. 22. Yep, you need 22 identical cam screws right out of the gate. Seeing a number like that, it totally validates any builder's initial feeling of being overwhelmed. But the manual, it really doesn't want you to panic. It wants you to get organized.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly how the manual organizes that chaos right away. It lays out exact quantities for parts, like the 12 wooden dowels and 8 cam locks, to make sure you have everything accounted for before you even touch a piece of wood. It's subtly forcing you to audit your parts, which absolutely saves you from that terrifying moment of realizing you're missing a screw at step 40. Or, even worse, finding a crucial piece left over when you're supposedly finished. So instead of panicking at that sprawling layout, we can actually decode this visual inventory by mentally categorizing these parts into 3 really simple functions. First up, your structural connectors, the cam screws and locks that secure the main panels. Second, the alignment pieces, those little wooden dowels that join the edges perfectly smoothly. And third, the essential safety equipment, the wall anchors and straps that prevent tip-overs. Break it down by function like that, and suddenly the chaos makes perfect sense.
All right, on to Section 3, building the foundation piece by piece. With our inventory sorted out and our minds finally at ease, we move into the rising action of our journey, actually constructing the structural skeleton of the dresser. Side by side here, you can see the brilliant visual progression the manual takes you through. First, you have to carefully identify specifically labeled base rails, like L1 and R2, and lay them out flat to mimic exactly how they'll sit on your floor. Then, you start dropping the large panels right over the dowels, locking the pieces into place. It's like a very precise step-by-step choreography.
Now, to connect all this, we're not just going to tell you to insert part 110630. Rather, you really need to understand the underlying mechanics here. This ingeniously simple 3-step system, insert the cam screw, align the panel over the dowels, and turn the cam lock to secure it, is literally the secret structural backbone of Swedish flat pack design. Once you master this 3-step rhythm, the entire frame assembly becomes an absolute breeze.
Now, what's really fascinating here is the explicit visual cue they provide for the top panel screws. See that inset box with the crossed-out graphic? It's demanding that these specific screws must sit perfectly flush, not sticking up even a millimeter. This shows us exactly how the manual communicates vital tolerances without using a single word of text. It's basically a silent shout telling you, hey, if you don't do this right, the next piece absolutely will not fit.
Which brings us to Section 4, the crucial safety step, anchoring to the wall. As the heavy wooden frame finally comes together, we hit the climax of the build. This is where the instructions dramatically shift their tone, pivoting from simple assembly mechanics straight into critical safety protocols.
The absolutely crucial point to take away is that those prominent warning triangles you see popping up translate to one uncompromising rule. Wall anchoring is not an optional suggestion. It is a mandatory requirement. The visual language shifts hard to emphasize that securing this heavy dresser is the single most important step in the entire book.
The visual guide actually slows down your pacing here, deliberately instructing you to push the frame to the wall and mark it precisely with a pencil at step 34. Then, before you do anything else, step 36 shows you how to loop and tighten that heavy-duty safety strap through the bracket. It's a meticulous, multi-step process designed for one thing only: keeping your home safe.
Now for Section 5, assembling the drawers, repetition and resolution. With the massive frame safely secured to your wall, the tension of the build just drops. The heavy lifting is done, and we enter the really satisfying rhythmic resolution phase.
You're now tasked with assembling a total of 8 identical mechanical structures. These are grouped into 3 distinct sizes. For the tiers, you've got 4 small ones for the top, 2 medium ones for the middle, and 2 large ones for the bottom.
Let's jump over to steps 42 and 43 to see how this builds out. It's kind of a playful test of your endurance, honestly. You repeat that exact same camlock process we learned earlier, but now you're doing it 8 separate times. And then at step 43, you get to satisfyingly slide in those thin bottom panels. Sure, it's highly repetitive, but it's incredibly rewarding watching the final components finally take shape.
At this point, the whole builder's journey shifts completely. While the foundation required a methodical, intense focus on identifying varying parts and meeting those critical safety tolerances, this final drawer stage, it's a high-speed sprint of pure muscle memory. Your brain relaxes, your hands take over, and you just cruise right across the finish line.
Having decoded the silent language of the HEMNES manual today, you're no longer just blindly following pictures. You actually understand the grammar of the hardware, the syntax of the frame, and the vital punctuation of those safety warnings. You are executing a brilliant piece of structural design. So I'll leave you with this. The next time you open a flat-pack box, will you just see a chaotic pile of parts or a perfectly engineered puzzle waiting to be solved? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and hey, happy building!